In this video, I want to discuss why Google Ads, along with most other digital advertising platforms such as Microsoft with their Ad Center or Bing Ads, as you probably know it, are shifting towards these increasingly automated campaign types. So if you go and create a Google Ads campaign these days, really what Google wants to try and push you towards ideally is some kind of automation process, even down to, say, this campaign objective selection screen. If you pick one of the options here, it's kind of streamlining the process. It's not the same automation as I'm going to show you now, though. When you go along and pick, say, Performance Max. So Google wants you to use something like Performance Max or maybe a smart campaign if you haven't got, an e-commerce product catalog, for example. That's really what Google wants you to use. You'll see throughout your account, optimization score recommendations trying to push you in the direction of increasing automation. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised over time to see more and more sort of regular options stripped away. So, it would not surprise me to get to the point where if you are, say, wanting to sell products on the shopping network, you can only do Performance Max. You can't just do regular shopping, for example. So pretty much wherever you're coming from, Google is increasingly pushing for this more and more automated kind of approach to doing things. They want you to give them more control, to let their automation do more of the work for you, do more of the heavy lifting. Especially if you're starting an account, and you haven't got the expert mode switched on. So if you just go through, say, Google My Business to set up your Google Ads, it's going to push you in the direction of a smart campaign. Now, why is Google doing this? Why does Google want you to use smart campaigns and Performance Max and push you in the direction, even when you're using search or display or other campaign types, of trusting more and more of their automation? There's really a couple of reasons for it, and I want to go into those in this video at a high level. So the first reason, in my view, is pretty simple. With Google Ads, and the same applies for other ad networks too, they have inventory of varying quality, right? So if you take display ads on the Google Display Network, for example, there can be good quality inventory and there can be really poor quality inventory. So good quality inventory might be, say, legitimate news websites or hobby blogs or something like that, where you've got real visitors, real audience. There's good quality content being published, and you want to take out advertising there. Now, if you only took out advertising there because you're using the display ad system, but really controlling your placements and you're targeting via other criteria or targeting options such as demographics and interests and so on, what that means is that you're potentially leaving, from Google's perspective, a whole lot of money on the table because there's other crap, rubbish inventory they need to sell in order to make their network more profitable and sell more advertising and basically make more revenue and profit. So you've got, made for AdSense junk websites that are, at best just poor quality content that has no real value and is probably not attracting a very good audience. At worst, you've got, a lot of legitimate concerns around actual ad fraud and various ad networks letting basically publishers get away with committing ad fraud and still charging the advertisers for it. But from Google's perspective, they want you to have to buy the bad quality inventory they're selling on, say, the display network, along with the good quality inventory. Same with things like search. This is, I think, with Bing Ads or Microsoft Ads, they've announced that, going forward from a certain point in time this year, you're going to pretty much have to buy into their version of the Search Partners Network in order to do search advertising through Microsoft Ads or through Bing Ads. So same kind of thing could apply with Google. I wouldn't be surprised for them to turn around and say you have to do Search Partners if you want to run search, because we've got this extra sort of less good quality, worse ad inventory that needs to be sold, and Google wants to sell it and Microsoft wants to sell it, because if they don't sell it, it's basically wasted opportunity for them. They're leaving money on the table. They're not making as much revenue and profit as they could. So there's that aspect to it. By adding automation into campaigns and pushing these automated campaign types where you have less control over where your ads run, effectively what ad networks like Google are able to do is say, if you want to advertise on our platform, that's fine, but you have to accept that we're going to put your ads where we think they should go. And you'll get some good stuff, but you'll also get a lot of this bad stuff as well. It's a little bit like if you go to, say, a fast food restaurant and say you like going to KFC and buying chicken. You might just buy the chicken at the moment, and that's what you really want. But if you were taking the Google approach, they'd be saying, oh, well, you can't just buy the chicken. You have to buy the, combo box that's got the coleslaw and the drink and the fries with it, whether or not that's what you actually wanted. And the coleslaw and the drink and the fries might not be very good quality. They might not be really the food that you want. But the only way you can get the chicken is to buy all of the combo. That's effectively the approach that Google is working towards, along with all of these other self-service digital ad platforms as well. So there's that aspect to it. Long story short, Google, Microsoft, Meta, whoever it is, they've got more and more of this kind of junk inventory across the various networks that they need to sell, or lower quality inventory that's hard to shift because sophisticated advertisers try to avoid it. What they're just going to do is increasingly change the rules. So if you want to buy the good stuff, you have to buy the bad stuff as well. A little bit like sometimes airlines change their pricing policy so that you have to opt for a bag. I think here in New Zealand, Air New Zealand, which is the big national carrier, I'm pretty sure they changed their policies recently for, say, trans-Tasman travel to Australia. You used to be able to buy tickets that didn't include a bag. I feel like they might have changed, so you have to have a bag. Like you have to pay for the check bag even if you're not going to do it. Don't quote me on that. I'm just sort of remembering as some headlines as I record this video. But it's that kind of concept. I'm sure other airlines have done it as well. Or hey, in the past you're able to just buy your ticket without a bag and without any food, but now you have to pay for everything, even if you don't really want it and the food's rubbish quality, because it's going to make the airline more money. It's exactly the same principle here. It's taking that choice away and forcing you into the sort of black box system where you have to buy the stuff you don't want in order to get the bits you do want, and you're effectively sort of supporting the worse aspects and the less sustainable aspects of the business simply by being required to pay for them. So I don't like that aspect, but I think that's where we're headed. The other consideration as well, and if you look at Google Ads and say, I go and set up a campaign for a client, and we go and do the campaign setup process. Let's say that client's spending $1,000 a month. They might be paying me or any other agency or freelancer $150, $200 a month, whatever it is, to manage that campaign. The exact pricing percentage of ad spend budget varies greatly, and different agencies and freelancers charge different amounts. But whether you're Google Ads or Microsoft or Meta, all of these platforms are very much aware that advertisers are spending some of their budget typically on third-party management and optimization services. And that's really sort of ripe, fertile ground for plucking up new money and new business for the ad networks, because instead of, say, me as an advertiser spending $5,000 a month on my Google ad spend and $1,000 a month paying an agency to manage that for me, why would Google not just want me to pay them $6,000 directly, the entire amount, cut out that middleman agency or freelancer who's managing the ads and hopefully doing all sorts of good optimization work? But if we change campaign types over time so that there's less work that can actually be done to do optimization, like with Performance Max, there are still things you can do to optimize a Performance Max campaign, and I'll do some videos on this, but it's a lot less controllable than you have seen in the past with other, more manual campaign types. And I think this is another area you're going to see pushed more and more. Another reason I say this is if I look at, say, some of the phone calls and emails that the advertisers I assist are getting from Google, these emails and phone calls more and more are becoming quite aggressive in terms of saying, hey, we think your agency is doing something not quite right and you should be following our guidelines instead. And typically Google's advice is rubbish, as you'll know if you've fielded any of their phone calls. But the advertisers often don't know that. And I've had multiple conversations where someone's called me up and said, oh, I've just been on the phone to Google and they're saying you're not doing a very good job for me and we should just be doing what they say instead, which is typically go and set up a Performance Max campaign. Don't ever check on it. Just check that you're getting a respectable, conversion rate or return on ad spend and leave it, because that's going to make more money for Google, basically. And so there's these two competing, or not really competing, but two circling aspects of where the ad business is going for the likes of Google that are basically forcing them to do more and more of these automated campaign types and strip out a lot of the controllability and strip out a lot of your ability as an advertiser to tweak things the way you want them to be tweaked. Because at the end of the day, if you are able to control all of the aspects of your ad campaigns on a platform like Google Ads, it means you're able to avoid the lower quality ad inventory, whether that's display or search or YouTube or whatever the case may be. And that's not good business for Google, because if they're not selling that junk inventory, they're leaving money on the table. The other aspect is that they want to, over time, diminish the utility and the kind of value that advertisers who are paying Google for ad placements to show up for keyword searches or for display ads. They want to take away the value that agencies and freelancers can provide to those advertisers, so that instead of the advertiser paying an agency or a freelancer to manage the ads and set them up and report on them, you just pay Google directly and they will help you set up your automated campaigns, and you just cut out the middleman, and hopefully your budget will go increasingly back towards Google. And if you think about just some simple maths, imagine if Google could cut out every agency and freelancer overnight just by snapping their fingers, sort of Thanos style. That would probably be an extra 10 to 15%, maybe even more, of ad revenue that Google would get overnight, if you look at probably an average kind of management fee relative to what advertisers are spending. So just some general thoughts here on where Google is headed. I'll go into some more detail on these topics in future videos, but hopefully you find this helpful. I'll be back in my next videos actually with some more sort of tutorial type content. I just thought this is an interesting topic to discuss, basically. So yeah, keen to hear your thoughts. Please do feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Please like this video if it's helpful, and subscribe for more Google Ads advice.